Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hugh Miles of the law firm Paris Smith, and I'm the chair of Winchester BID. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to the Wessex Centre for our AGM. We don't take your time and attention for granted. We truly appreciate your presence. Good to see you all. So up on the screen here, you'll see the agenda for today's packed schedule of business. Of course, we are going to receive a report from Paul Spencer, our Executive Director. Paul is going to cover the great work that the BID has done in the previous year, and he's also going to look ahead at our plans for the coming year, following which Paul will be taking questions from the floor. We're then going to approve the accounts as prepared by Martin and Company for the 2022 to 2023 financial period. Hopefully we don't need to spend too much time on those. You should have a copy on your seats. So if there are any questions about them, perhaps raise those towards the end of the meeting. Otherwise, I suggest we simply approve them. We also have some excitement in the AGM today, other than that, of course, provided by our speakers, in that we do have a contest for one of the directorship positions, which is in the retail category. And we have Jade Coulter of Aspiga present, and also Harriet France of Jeremy France Jewellers, and I think they're both going to have an opportunity to state their cases for a minute or so, strictly limited, I'm told, to 60 seconds. And there are voting slips which you have available. We're going to take that vote. Chris Turner, Company Secretary, will then collect the votes. Whilst Chris is counting the votes, we're going to say hello to Steve Brine, MP, who's with us today. Steve would like to show his appreciation to the executive team of the BID. So whilst the votes are being counted, I will call Steve up to do just that. And Steve, thank you for attending. You've always been very good in attending the AGMs. We're then going to move on to our presentation today, which is being delivered by Natasha Dochniak, who is the Commercial Manager of Hampshire Fair. And then lastly, we'll have a mop-up with any other business. So before we move on to Paul's talk, I would just like to share with you a few words of my own. We all know it's been a challenging couple of years for business. The cost of most things has increased significantly. Business has run slower. It's been hard to find staff and just as difficult to keep them. Wages have had to increase, and customers have shared the same challenges around costs, and naturally demand has been impacted, especially in those sectors where spending is discretionary. After 2 years of recovery in 2023, growth in GDP stalled. But business owners, being entrepreneurs, understand this cycle. Overcoming difficulty and meeting challenges is in their DNA. And reporting statistics only tells us the average of everything, and entrepreneurs do not aim for average. Small and medium-sized enterprises contribute 25% of the UK's entire economy. And what do we see when we look more closely at Winchester? We see an active, engaged and collaborative group of businesses, as Paul will describe in a few moments, and as shown by your attendance today. We see a community of individuals and businesses that care deeply about their home. In the most recent business barometer released in February, Winchester Business strongly declared its collective confidence in the year ahead. The vacancy rate in the wider city is just over 7%, and an even lower 5% in the high street. That compares to almost 14% nationally, according to the latest figures produced by Savills. The local economy was already growing again in the first quarter of 2024. Zooming back out to the big picture ahead, the government publishes a report each month containing the average of all major independent forecasts for the UK economy. The CPI measure of inflation is estimated to fall to 2.2% by the end of 2024 and stay there in 2025. GDP is expected to return to modest growth in 2024 and then increase to 1.3% in 2025. And last Friday, the Bank of England affirmed it would start to reduce base rate in June of this year, with gradual reductions over the rest of the year and into 2025, with base rate at 3.75% at the end of 2025. So lots of numbers, but actually what this means for us is that we've got a foundation for that positive feeling that Winchester businesses report. And I mentioned previously, statistics show averages, and we know, don't we, that Winchester has a history of outperforming, and we have every reason to look forward to continued success in business and as a community over the course of the coming years. But it does take effort, it takes stamina, and it takes people who really care about making things better. So speaking of which, I now hand over to Paul to share with us the achievements of last year and to look ahead at the plans for the next. Paul.
And the first thing I'll say, any achievements of the BID are, of course, achievements for all of us, because the BID is a partnership, and that's what it's all about. So thank you, Hugh. Welcome everyone to our 2024 AGM here in the Winchester Cathedral Wessex Centre. Thank you so much for coming along. So we really appreciate your time. It's great to see so many people in the room. For anyone who's not been before, just so you know, we film the presentations so we can put them online for any of our members who can't come along this evening, so they can watch them back. So just to make you aware that that filming is taking place. So thank you very much to David for that. And I hope you've had a good chance to network at the start, have a drink, have a chat. There'll be a bit more time for that later as well, if you're able to stay with us after the presentations. Hugh's gone through the agenda for us, so this is our programme for the evening, and I'm really excited that we've got Natasha Docknett with us today from Hampshire Fair. We're doing a lot more partnership work with Hampshire Fair. We've always worked with Hampshire Fair, but we've got a big new project, which is the Winchester Food Festival. It's had the inaugural festival last year, and it's back and it's bigger this year. And Natasha's going to talk to us about Hampshire Fair and also a bit about what you can expect from the festival in the summer. So this is the annual review document. So these are on your seats. For any of you that are BID levy payers, you will have got a copy of this with your levy notice, which explains what we've been doing over the previous year, what's coming up. There's a financial report in there as well for the year ahead. So Winchester BID is a business-funded and business-led organisation working in the city centre, and we deliver projects and services which aim to make Winchester a great place to do business. So that's what it's all about. Our work's funded for an annual levy, and therefore none of that work would be possible without the contribution that businesses make to work together collaboratively to do more and deliver additional projects to make Winchester a great place for business. The key themes that we work together on are making sure the city is marketed and promoted successfully, that it's safe and secure, that it's clean, attractive and more sustainable, and a place where businesses thrive. So those are the key themes that we work towards. So there's a copy of this document on your seats, so you can have a look at it whilst we go through, or you can take it away with you as well, and it is available online. You'll see as we go through the slides, we've got some yellow buttons with the blue text. All of those you can click to access more information when we share the PDF tomorrow. So the first thing, what's a business improvement district? I mean, we've been here for 16 years now, so I expect a lot of you know who we are. But there's about 330 around the country now. There's new ones starting up all the time. But we invite all sorts of people to come to our AGM. So a lot of you are levy payers, but there's also people that have an interest in the work we do, but might not necessarily know how it all works. So BIDs are business-led partnerships. They deliver projects and services to local businesses beyond what our public sector colleagues provide, so beyond what the police provide, beyond what the local council provide. So it's about that additionality and projects that, as a business community, we'd like to see taking place in our city. They're legally established, they're voted for in a ballot process, and they're funded by a levy which is derived from a percentage of rateable value. Across the country, this ranges from around 1% up to 6%, I think is the highest. Normally that's a smaller bid, which is maybe trying to raise funds for a particular project. And ours is 1.5%, which is the average across bids and the most frequently used across the UK. So they're established within a defined geographical area, so we're the Winchester City Centre, and operate on a 5-year cycle. And I just wanted to put this slide up because this year marks 20 years of business improvement districts in the UK. So Winchester BID is one of the first in the south of England, but it was Kingston, which was the first one. It's called Kingston First, is the name of the bid, and that was 20 years ago now. So bids were first made possible in England in 2004 with the UK Bid Regulations Act. Wales followed suit in 2005, and Scotland in 2007, and then Northern Ireland in 2014. So they were modelled on similar organisations that we'd seen in different parts of the world in the 1960s, particularly in Canada and America. And then in the UK, we've really become an international exemplar, really, of how these sorts of organisations can work and how businesses and different types of organisations within a city can collaborate to help improve places. And they add significant value and on a strategic level, but also operational capacity to do more within the city, and they make great contributions to the evolution of our high streets and our towns and city centres. So over the last 20 years, UK bids collectively have invested over 1 billion in UK towns and cities. And bids are enabling local businesses and organisations to work together to support business communities, and they've become key strategic partners in shaping the places that they look after. There's a link on this side as well, so you can find out more about that and all of the different work that bids are doing around the country, and that's a link to the placemanagement.org website. So do have a look if you're interested in finding out more about bids on the national level. So the bid in Winchester has been operating since the 1st of April 2008, and we're now in our 17th year. So I said 16, no, it's 17. We've just gone into the new one this month, so 17 years. And we're managed by Winchester City Centre Partnership. So that's a company name that operates the Winchester bid. Over the time that we've been operating, the bid's enabled over £7.6 million to be invested in the city, as well as over £970,000 more raised through sponsorship and project-generated income. So we've delivered 3 business plans over 3 terms of 5 years, and we're now just starting the 2nd year of our 4th term. So on the bottom of this slide, you can see our core executive team, which is made up of 2 full-time and 3 part-time members of staff who report to the Winchester BID Board of Directors. You've got me, Sarah, Jane, Chris, and Susie. And in addition, some of you will know Miranda Best, who looks after our finances. And we have 2 full-time bid rangers provided by a company called Venture Security, and they are Brett Jones and Charlie Tuck. So that's who's who. This is the area that we cover, so very much the city centre. You can get a detailed map on our website and a full list of the streets that are part of our boundaries. So, in the annual review, you've got a month-by-month breakdown of our activities over the past financial year, so the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024. And you can also find out more about what we've been doing this year and looking ahead to the next few years as well in the business plan for the 4th term. So we've put some of those out on your seats as well. And also, if you want to go onto the website, we've got a button here where you can download that document and read all about that. As I mentioned earlier, the key themes: better promoted city, safe and secure city, a clean, attractive and sustainable city, and a thriving business community. And in that business plan, you can read about how we are and hope to further meet each of those aims in the business plan. So for the next few slides, I've got some pictures from the previous year for you to look at. We've got a video afterwards as well about the Business Excellence Awards, and I'll give you some of the highlights from this review that we've just published for you for the previous year. So the fourth term of Winchester BID began in April of 2023, and we started off strong with one of our Winchester BID Rangers receiving the Business Crime Prevention Award at the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police and Crime Commissioners Awards. So that was Brett Jones who won that. Super chuffed for him, and he works very, very hard, and it was a very well-deserved award for him. The Bunny Hop Easter Trail, so it's Easter time then, we had 277 BID members involved in that, and we had 620, which is, I think, the biggest number we've had, small groups and families taking part in that. So coming into the city, having a good exploration around the city, and hopefully discovering some new places and businesses to visit. Our shop watch and pub watch meetings began, and they're managed by Jane Bastock, who sat over here. And they run throughout the year, bringing together businesses in both of those two schemes. We participated in Winchester City Council's Station Approach Regeneration Reference Group. So we're involved in a lot of different projects, putting forward that business voice on key projects in the city, and Station Approach is just one of those. Sarah, our BID manager, manages all sorts of projects for us, and one of them is there to help keep the city looking its best. So a new programme of street cleaning and graffiti removal began in April as well for the year. Every year it's about 10,000 metres squared of pavements are cleaned, and hundreds of graffiti tags from commercial premises. If you don't want it, we'll leave the hen dogs there. But if you do get tagged and you don't want it there, give us a shout. You don't need to pay for that. We'll come and clean that for you as part of your BID levy. Also, you'll see here, mentioning street cleaning, we've got a picture of Ray, so another award winner. So one of our street cleaners, Ray, who's in early in the morning before many of us even get into Winchester to start our day, is out there doing that work on the streets and on our commercial buildings. And he won a Mayor of Winchester's award, and we were really pleased to see him win that as well. We sponsor lots of events and festivals, as well as running some of our own events, and in April of 2023 we supported the Winchester Chamber Music Festival as part of our Festivals in Winchester programme, and the results of our first business barometer of the year was published. In May, the city celebrated the coronation of His Majesty King Charles III, and we worked with Play to the Crowd, who run Theatre Royal Winchester and Hat Fair, to organise the Hat Fair in the Square event, and we worked with the City Council to organise bunting and decorations across the city. Another project that we work with the Council on representing the business community is the UK Shared Prosperity Fund Partnership Board, which has been set up. Different organisations represented on that, looking at how that fund is distributed across the district, and that's something that we got involved with as well. We launched a new savings and advisory service, so if you're looking at the costs going out of your business, you're interested in how you can have an audit on that, so whether it's your utilities, whether it's your IT, it could be a whole range of things that we can support you with, then look up our savings and advisory service. A second part of that service is around carbon reduction as well, so if that's something that you're looking to get some free guidance on, then again that's another thing you can get from our team at Beyond Procurement, is their name, who run that service for us. In May, Harriet France, who sat here, one of our board directors, and I were invited up to Downing Street with Steve Brine to attend a local business champions reception. So congratulations for Harriet for being invited to go along to that, and it was great that I could tag along as well. So that was a really great opportunity to go up, and that was hosted by the Chancellor of the Exchequer. So moving into June, there's lots of big events that happen in Winchester, and we had that 30th anniversary Freedom Parade for the Royal Logistics Corps, and that included a visit from the Colonel-in-Chief, which is the Princess Royal, so we attended that as well. The 21st Annual Winchester Business Excellence Awards took place. You've got a picture there of Mark Dodd and Eleanor Dodd, who won the Millennium Egg last year, which is the City Council's Lifetime Achievement Award. That event took place and recognised the commitment to excellence of many of our local businesses across a number of different categories. We participate in a workshop with the South of England BIDS group. We do quite a lot with them. So BIDS come together to learn from each other, learn about best practice, what we're doing in our different locations, and we took part in a session for them. And we also did some research with them later in the... That's interesting. That's the sound from my video, which isn't on this slide, so I don't know what that is. But we're about to get some nice music then, but you'll have to wait a bit longer, I'm afraid. We had our AGM this time last year as well, and also moving into June, we put up all of the floral displays across the city, hundreds of them. So last year there was 537 hanging baskets across the city centre and 34 boxes as well that really bring the city to life. And we do ones in the winter as well. And we received an award from the university, which we were very pleased for. So thank you very much, University of Winchester. So that was a Community Partner Award for the work that we do with Winchester BID. And we sponsored Hat Fair and TEDx Winchester. So those were a couple of events that we sponsored that in June for the Festivals in Winchester programme. So all sorts of things going on. So as we move into July, August and September of 2023, Sarah, our BID manager, got involved with Outdoor Arts UK and spoke at an event about funding for festival organisers. That was great to have her at that an event with festivals from across the country. We celebrated July's Independent Business Month, and we'll be doing that again this year, so we've got some exciting plans for July. We had a social media, video, radio and print campaign, which is all about promoting our wonderful independent businesses. So we had filming with independents, we had radio interviews, we had photography and a whole social media campaign. So that's a lot of fun and highlights some of the businesses we've got and the people behind those businesses as well, which are really what make those businesses what they are and make our city what it is as well. We launched a new data collection programme around this time as well with a company called Place Informatics. So we used to have footfall cameras around the city and they pick up people that walk past them, but there's newer technology coming out now, and we're now using technology which picks up mobile phone data basically, or signal, so it can get a sense of how many people are in an area, and you get a bit of a more accurate sense of how many people are there rather than just how many people have walked past the camera. And you don't need the kit as well, so it works out a bit cheaper, which is always good. But the level of data we get is very strong. You can look at what's going on at different parts around the town, how people move around the town, so you also get that movement of people, which are the busiest areas, what times of day, how are people moving from top to the bottom of town, and also some information about demographics as well. Where are people coming from? What type of demographic might those people fall into? All sorts of stuff, and it's really interesting. So if you want to take a look at that, drop me a line, and we can get you on the system for that. But we do share the reports as well, so look out for them in our fortnightly e-news. So that was a new programme that when Jane attended the National Business Crime Conference, so we get involved with a lot of the national conferences which help us to learn about what we're doing here in Winchester and about what others are doing around the country. And we had the first Winchester Food Festival with our friends from Hampshire Fair, and you'll find out more about this year's event shortly. And we had our next business barometer. So there every quarter we're getting data from our business community about how they feel about what's going on, data that, like as Hugh mentioned, on vacancy rates, business confidence, and footfall data, which is about footfall into businesses rather than footfall into the city. So there's two measures there. So it's one thing to have a busy city, but are they actually coming into your business is a key measure as well. And we're involved in other work with the council as well for the district cultural strategy and for Central Winchester Regeneration. So these major projects which are happening around us, we try and help put your views across. We try and encourage you to get involved in the sessions that are run, so you can do that directly as well, respond to consultations. But we also take part in all of those sorts of sessions as well. So in August, I met Flick for the first time, Flick Drummond, who will be the Conservative candidate for Winchester at the next general election. So Steve Bryan will be standing down, and Flick is standing for the Conservatives. And we've also met Danny Chambers, who's a Liberal Democrat candidate, and the Labour candidate is a lady called Hannah Dawson. We responded to the British BID survey, so that's a national survey collecting data on what bids are doing across the country and the impact that they make. That's used by government, it's used by business, and obviously it's used by us to learn about our sector as well. So it's an important piece of work, and Chris Turner, who's our company secretary, works with British BIDs as well and is a key author of that report. So if you've got any questions about bids on the national level, I'm sure we'll be happy to talk to you about that. And we had lots of area events in the last year, which we were really pleased about, because we've got different pockets of independent businesses around the city, different areas which have their own character. And for a few years, we've really wanted to see our businesses doing whatever it is they want to do in their area, a street party, a weekend of different activities. So in the last year we've had a Parchment Street Festival, there's been one in Kingsgate Village, there's been one in King's Walk, so that's something really positive that we'd like to see continue, and if we can support those types of events, then we will do. So in September, we had the 7th annual Best Bar None Awards. This is a programme that celebrates the nighttime economy in the city centre. It's an accreditation scheme for pubs, bars and restaurants, and we had 11 bid members which achieved their accreditation at the last time we ran that project. We responded to the council's consultation on evening and overnight parking charges. I know that was something we were talking about a lot at the time. The bid supports a sustainable business network. So that's another thing that we're involved in, events that you can come to. They're roughly quarterly. And the one that happened in September was on B Corp and social certification schemes. And I mentioned we work with the South of England's group. We did a project with the University of Southampton. So they're doing a project on what they're calling neighbouring data, looking at the role of qualitative data in place-based decision-making. So we helped to organise a group with the University of Southampton and the South of England Bids group to look into that. And then other events that we supported around this time, there's a project called A Celebration of Winchester, where an art teacher got children from schools around the city to paint their favourite buildings along the high street. That was just wonderful, and they had an exhibition in the City Museum as well. So that was a really lovely project. And of course, all these local events in different areas of the city that I mentioned. So moving in towards the end of 2023, we meet with the Bank of England normally once or twice a year, their regional office, to talk about what's going on really, because it's been quite a hot topic recently, hasn't it? So inflation, interest rates, what's concerning our businesses locally, and that feeds into their regional and national strategies as well. And they meet with BIDs and other business organisations like the Chambers of Commerce around the country. Around this time is when the winter hanging baskets go up. You've got a picture there. And we put those in areas where we can't put the Christmas lights up, so that nobody misses out, really. So that's usually business centres. So, for example, City Business Centre, they go in Charcot Mews and Staple Gardens, and that's another service that we provide. Winchester Fashion Week is one of our huge events that we've run for many, many years. It will be back again next year, and we're looking forward to developing that with the University of Winchester as one of our main supporters. That involved a huge programme with all sorts of things going on. So 44 events in total. There were more than 50 businesses participating in the programme. There were masterclasses, showcases, film screenings, exhibitions, workshops, shopping events, and catwalk shows presented by Susie. Which was spectacular, with a number of our national and independent brands showcasing what they've got in store in the city on the catwalk to an audience up at the University of Winchester. We like national conferences, so Jane was at the National Association of Business Crime Partnerships Conference. Nice to say Jane recently got us through again on our national accreditation for the Business Crime Reduction Partnership, so well done to Jane. There's some really good wording from the assessors about what a great job Jane's doing, and perhaps we can share some of that. Certainly at the board meeting we will, Hugh, so you'll see that. All our board papers go online, so you can go and look at them as well. So, but there's some really, really good feedback. So Jane does a terrific job for us on that partnership and the work that it does in the city. We run Winchester BID forums, which are much more informal events. They're roughly quarterly, and we give you a bit of an update on what we're doing. We have guest speakers come along to those as well. And at the one in October, we had guest speakers talking about Central Winchester regeneration and also Bushfield Camp regeneration, which is slightly outside of the Winchester BID area, but again, a really important scheme that's being consulted on at the moment for our city. We had our Spooky Winch campaign. So this is a bit like the Easter one. So we'd like to do trails at key seasonal moments throughout the year. And Spooky Winch is our Halloween trail. So for that, we had 246 BID members involved, that with 317 small groups and families taking part in the trail. And those are the ones that hand their sheets back. There's probably more, but these are those that have stuck it out, done the whole trail, and handed in their trail sheet for the chance to win a Halloween-inspired hamper, which has got all sorts of things in, kindly donated from our local businesses. Moving into November, so November each year is the anniversary of when we launched our Rangers scheme. So it was 5 years last November that scheme's been running. And over that time, they've helped to recover over £82,000 worth of goods stolen from local businesses. So that's items that are recovered and taken back to those businesses where they've been stolen from. It just makes a huge difference. It's one of our most popular programs that we run in the city, and they do a great job. But they also provide an ambassadorial role for our city centre as well. So they're first aid trained, they will help people that may be new to the city and trying to find different places. But they also do an amazing job trying to prevent business crime in our city centre and antisocial behaviour. We supported the Bonfire and Fireworks evening. That is one of the highest footfall events of the year. It brings a huge number of people into the city, and they raise a huge amount of money for charity as well. So it's a really good thing to support. We attended the National BIDs Conference. So you can see Chris there speaking at the latest conference. That was up in London. Again, it's just so good to get together with other bids. We're very localised. I worked in a job which I had a broader geographical reach before this one. When I first came here, Winchester was my old hometown, so I wanted to be here, but to work in quite a small remit feels a bit strange if you're not used to it. So those opportunities to go out, talk to other bids through the South of England group, go to national conferences and find out what everyone else is doing and what maybe we could do here as well is really important. We do a lot at Christmas time. Christmas is really big for Winchester, and we kickstart the season with a Christmas light switch on. That brings thousands of people into the city. It's all local performers on stage. It's all about celebrating local. And we run a Local Heroes campaign as well. So not only is it local performers, but the person who gets to switch on that big switch and turn on all of the city's lights is a local hero. And it was the team at Winchester Hospice who were voted on by the public to have that opportunity last year. They actually were also voted before the hospice opened. So for them to be able to come back a few years later and celebrate and talk about all of the really, really important work that facility is providing for local people was a really poignant moment, and it was great to have them back. But every year there's a vote and we get a local hero to switch on our Christmas lights. So if you know someone who's really deserving, make sure you put their name in this year and maybe it'll be them up on that stage. We ran a number of different activities through Christmas. So we worked with Winchester Cathedral to have a space for our bid members, for our local businesses to trade from. Hampshire Fair also have a space there as well. So that brings more of our local businesses into that market. And everyone has a couple of days, so it's not you get if you want to go for the whole thing. Obviously, lots of businesses do that, but this is a chance for businesses to have a bit of a taster and see if it's something they might want to get more involved in. Really good feedback about that, and it always fills up really, really quickly. So if you want to get involved, contact Sarah. It's possible; it's already booked, but get in there. And we also do a lot around Independence in July. As I said, that's Independent Business Month. But we also have our Love from Indie Winch campaign that we run in the festive season as well. And we've got a festive map that we produce and lovely tote bags that you can go and showcase and celebrate Winchester independent businesses as well. So lots happening at Christmas time. One of the other things we do are more practical things as well. So we work with Hampshire County Council to provide free weekend parking for bid members at Tower Street in the basement car park there. So I mean, it gets so busy, and I'm actually used it this year. I don't normally, but and to be able to come in on a really busy Saturday and just drive straight into a parking space was handy. So that takes vehicles that would otherwise be elsewhere in the city at a time that it gets quite congested. We can provide you a space there. So you just need to send us your name nearer the time and look out for it in our e-news. We had celebrations for Small Business Saturday. That's a big national scheme that we like to use that as well as a chance highlighting our smaller and independent businesses. And also, an interesting one this year, I've come from a bit of an academic background as well, so I like to get involved in odd bits of research here and there. And we did a piece looking at the impact of bids with Okayama University in Japan. So we had some Japanese academics come over here a few years back. A chap that worked at Hampshire County Council. We did a bit of a visit with them, and they were doing some research reports, and it's kind of come out of that, really working with some students who are looking at the bid model and how that might work for towns and cities in Japan. And we also worked with Hat Fair to surprise and delight Christmas shoppers. So we had street performers up and down the high street as well during the festive season. So all sorts of things going on. So moving into the final quarter, and thanks for staying with me. So we hosted the first Hampshire Chamber of Commerce meeting, which their Winchester meeting is in Winchester at our business centre. So that's the business strategy group. If you want to be involved in that, then again, drop us a line. Their next meeting's next week. We attended the Future World of Work conference at the University of Winchester and worked with the Chamber on a session all about collaboration in the city. Susie met with the Winchester Tourist Guide, so we provide support to them, and Susie's also been helping them with their marketing recently as well. We know how important it is for people to be able to find out about our rich history, not just for visitors actually, but also for people who live and work here. There's so much fascinating stuff to learn about our city, and if you know about it, you can talk to your customers about it, and it's definitely, their tours are good fun. So if you've got a group even within your business that want to do one of those, then you certainly can do. Sarah hosted the first meeting of the year with our independent business community to look at what we'll be doing in the year ahead. The Festivals in Winchester group met, so all of these different networking groups come together at the start of the year to look at what we're doing moving forward. We also had the opportunity to meet the Prime Minister, which we weren't expecting earlier in the year as well. It was an excellent opportunity to be able to talk about things that are happening in Winchester, some of the things that are concerning our local businesses, a little bit of the data from that business barometer as well. So that was a really great opportunity for us as well. We celebrated International Women's Day. We've got here representatives from two of our local charities, and that's the Winchester Beacon and Trinity Winchester. So we run a programme called Spare Change for Lasting Change. So that's collection boxes and businesses all around the city. You can also make donations online, and we're really proud to present them with a cheque for the funds that were raised for that scheme earlier this year. We work very closely with the local police, obviously through that Business Crime Reduction Partnership. This picture here by TK Maxx, so that's what we call a Safer Business Action Day. So that's where there's really coordinated work between the police and the rangers who work together a lot anyway, but on particular things, working on solving particular issues in the city and speaking to our businesses and giving guidance and advice on things that might be causing them issues. We launched the Winchester Business Excellence Awards for this year in February. The closing date was last week. We've had hundreds of entries, and if you look out for the Hampshire Chronicle next week, you'll be able to see who the finalists are for this year. Other events that we supported include the Children of Winchester Festival. We had a Winchester BID Forum in February as well, and again we have guest speakers at these. So we had UN Women and Sir Optimus International at that last one, so close to International Women's Day. And other Sustainable Business Network events. And then last month, so we're nearly there, but so thank you for your patience. So, and in last month, we had first aid training for businesses. We had another Sustainable Business Network event on hybrid working, and we had our latest Easter Bunny Hop Trail. So that brings you full circle all the way around. So there is so much going on and so much you can get involved in. And also, there might be things we're not doing that might be really useful for you that maybe we can do. So we always welcome any feedback on the projects we're doing, but also on anything that maybe we're not doing that could be really useful for your sector by getting groups of businesses together to do things or engaging with our executive team. So looking to the year ahead, this is what the finance numbers look like for the new financial year. So the bid levy raises about £520,000 in the new financial year, and then we will raise about £72,000 more on top of that. So that gives you our income for the new year. So when you look at the membership, this is a very rough breakdown. There's much more detailed ones if you want to see, particularly the breakdown of services, because that comes up as quite a big part of our membership there at 44%. But that includes all sorts, from a marketing agency to a public sector organisation. You know, there's quite a breakdown within that 44%. But services are a big part of the membership in Winchester. The next ones beyond that is food and drink, independent retail and national retail, and then you've got the other sectors going around the pie chart there. So, also we got the latest business barometer, so that figure of 5% is actually now 4%. So you'll see up on the slide, the vacancy rate's 4%, and that's against that 14% national average. So Winchester's really doing very well. I mean, obviously you need a bit of churn for businesses that are looking for different premises, so that's really quite impressive. And we talked about, actually, do you need a bit of vacancy at one of our meetings with John, who does that report for us, to make sure there is new businesses able to move into our city and businesses able to expand into bigger premises as well. So that's quite an important thing for us to think about. So we mentioned that the Business Awards finalists will be announced next week. So we thought we'd give you a reminder of all of the amazing businesses in the city who picked up awards at last year's event. And now that music from earlier will start, and you can see the video as well.
The Little Kitchen Company.
Winchester Gold.
Dutton Gregory.
Noni Kerr, Smiley Estate Agents.
New Energy Yoga.
House of Bohemia.
Aspida.
878 AD, part of Hampshire Cultural Trust.
Play to the crowd.
And the winner of the Winchester Business Excellence Awards 2023 Business of the Year is the Little Kitchen Company.
It was an amazing night with some great winners. Over 200 entries this year, 200 businesses nominating themselves and their friends for the chance to win one of 9 awards. So Kate Sallinson won the Business Leader of the Year award. She's from Little Kitchen Company, who then went on to win the overall award for Business of the Year. Little Kitchen Company started small and are literally called that because they started in a kitchen, and yet Kate has grown the business to have a turnover of more than 2.8 million now. She is a real Winchester success story. Every year the Millennium Egg Award is given to somebody who's got a lifetime achievement in the city. Mark and Eleanor Dodd from the Chesel Rectory in the Park were very worthy winners. Their whole contribution to the hospitality industry has been phenomenal. They just keep going, and they're providing a whole different service, a whole different level of service in the city. So we're delighted to see them win.
And there we go. So the finalists will be announced next week. If you've entered those, or you know you've been nominated by another business or your customers or clients, then I wish you the very best of luck with it. There are a huge number of entries, and there are some amazing businesses among those entries. So I wish you all the best if you have entered for those. This is what's still to come. So there's all sorts of things coming up later this year. I'll only go through this very quickly, but those summer floral displays will go out in June. We'll carry on that street cleaning programme and the graffiti removal. We'll keep doing the data collection, the business barometers, the footfall, all of that sort of stuff that we can use to inform what we're doing. The Savings Advisory Service, do get in touch with them if that's something of interest to you. Lots more festivals and events throughout the year. Independent Business Month, our networking events, and then we go into, as we go towards the end of the year, those winter floral displays, the Halloween seasonal campaign, Christmas, of course. And as we go into the new year, one of our first events of the year is our Meet the MP event, which will be with a new MP this time. So I'll say thank you to Steve Bryan for all of the work he's done in his time as an MP. And we look forward to whoever will be our new MP. And of course, all of the big issues, we will keep being involved in those, raising issues which you might have about how the city works, and representing your interest in Winchester. So thank you very much for listening. There is a bit of time for questions if there are, but I know I've said quite a lot, so.
Mohammed, you're usually good for a question or two. Nothing this year? Well, I can't believe Paul's going to get off this lightly. It must be a fiendishly difficult question being put up
Paul
somewhere.
promised me to lobby for 1819 The Square.
I did. A building we'd like to see come back into use. Yeah.
All right. Well, if there are no questions then, we're going to move on in the agenda. I mentioned you've all got a copy of the accounts available. I think we can just take those as read unless anyone's got any burning issues with those, and then move straight on to the excitement of the election. Now, where's Chris Turner?
I'm here. I'm controlling my excitement in the way that we have to.
Chris is going to come up to the front and he's going to explain to us how the election process works and the articles of the bid.
Yes, and it is exciting. I got involved with the bid about 15 years ago as it was starting, and our AGMs then, I have to say, were slightly paltry affairs with small numbers of people. And we did appoint a very new member of staff who you probably know, Kath, who was talking to members of levy payers on the street who said they would never come to AGMs and they'd never come to become on our board because basically the board was a lot of grey-haired old men sitting around having breakfast together. And I looked around and I thought, actually that was very true. So we very consciously went out of our way to get our board livelier, bigger, more innovating, and just worked very hard. And we have done well on that. So we now have a board that's almost 50-50 by gender, and for those who are excited by this, there are slightly more women than there are men, so it's moving in the right direction for many of us. And we have a good cross-section. It's the job of the board to make sure it's a cross-section of people on it that come from different businesses. So we try and represent big retail, small retail, food and beverage. We have someone from the utilities. We clearly have got people from the police. So we make sure we spread our skill set as widely as possible. Every year we have to lose 3 of our voted on levy payers. So there are 8 places on the board, 50-50 levy payers and others. Half come off every year. And we send an email out to every levy payer 6 weeks ago saying, do you want to be on the board? And we had 3 vacancies this year, and ironically we had no applications to fill the gap for broadly the legals area or higher education, but we have 2 people fighting for the retail space on the board. And that's Harriet France, who's been on the board for some time, and Jade from Aspiga, a new business coming to the city. So what we've asked for, if that's all right with you, and be prepared, you have on your tests this sheet of paper. You can only vote if you're a bid levy payer. If you don't know if you're a bid levy payer, vote anyway, because I have a list. So I have a list of all 921 bid levy payers, so I can cross-check it, so don't worry about that. And you only have 1 vote per business, so just 2 or 3 of you, you again can vote, and I will divvy up the votes between the businesses. So you have this sheet of paper on which there are 2 names, Harriet France, Jade Coulter, and you as a business have a vote for one of those 2 categories.
So whilst the votes are being counted, Steve Bryant is going to say a thank you to the executive team. So Steve, if you'd like to come up and do that. Thank you.
Right. Paul, you were exhausting. My God. Incredible. Look, this is very possibly my last BID meeting. It's definitely my last AGM. I think I've been to them all. And so I just wanted to say thank you to a few people. Thank you to Chris, who's out the back counting as secretary. Catherine, who was Chris's successor and Paul's predecessor. And Paul himself, who I've enjoyed working with you all so much. And I know we've still got fair things to do. The current bid team is obviously Chris and Paul and Sarah and Jane and Susie that you saw up on the screen earlier. So on behalf of everyone here, I would just like to say a massive thank you for all the work they do, and can we give a round of applause to Paul for his presentation. The annual review and then obviously the presentation that we saw is sort of speaks volumes, I guess, to the amount of the breadth of work that goes on and the energy that goes on. The only thing that you didn't mention when you showed the picture of you and me and Harriet at the door of number 10 is that, never mind the Chancellor and it being inside number 10, what was the great excitement that we had that night? Meeting the cat, yes. Meeting Larry the cat, which Flick and I meet many times when we go into number 10, was a great excitement, and they got pictures and put it on their social media, so it was great. I really enjoyed that. But no, the number 10 visit was great. It was really lovely to have you up there, and as was the PM's visit. I text Paul the day before, because obviously it wasn't advertised that he was coming for obvious reasons, and said, I need you to be in the high street at this particular time on Friday. And he I think you were due to be on a day off, weren't you? And you said, I'll be there. And he was there, and you got your photo with the Prime Minister. But more than that, actually, you got to, we and the MP, we went and sat upstairs in one of the coffee shops, and you actually got the best part of half an hour with the Prime Minister of this country talking about Winchester, talking about what's going on, which I thought was, was very generous of him. And, he did Winchester proud. Both of them did, I can tell you, in the conversation that we had. And Sarah, yeah. So, it is not easy leading a representative organisation. I do one too. I have 75,000 people that I try to represent, and it's not easy doing that because everybody has views. And in Winchester, people have lots of views, and I know that you have that all the time. But you do it well, and it's a tough job. And getting re-elected 3 times now, the bid's been re-elected. 4. You're in your three times, and yeah, exactly. So bids don't have to exist. Is the point that I always try and remember. They only exist because we, or you as the ratepayers in the city of Winchester, vote for them. There's nothing in statute that we direct that they have to be here. And if they didn't do the job and all that breadth of activity, which is not just a slideshow, it's genuinely real, all that work that goes on, then they wouldn't exist because we would chuck them out. So what I love about bids, and I've been in touch with a few of them over the years, and obviously most of all with ours, is that it can't all be about what London does. London, we can set framework, we can set budgets, and we obviously set the legislative framework, but it can't all be about what London does. We know Winchester better than anybody else, and these guys really know Winchester. So that is incredible. And churn, I was interested to hear you say churn is good. I completely agree. In the same way as in the domestic property market, some churn is good from people downsizing to families and take the family homes. Some churn is good. And I think we saw a business this week that's decided they're leaving Winchester. I think it's a shoe business, isn't it? And I always look at that, and the headline screams someone's leaving Winchester, and then of course you dig in and you read the reasons, or maybe you look at their social media and you see the reasons. It's never they don't like it here. We were talking earlier about how much you enjoy being in Winchester. It's never, Winchester's a rubbish environment to be in, and we don't get supported by the council by the bid, and it's not a great economic environment. It's never that. There's usually other reasons, and I think that one is a wider company decision, and that speaks volumes to Winchester, that it is such a vibrant business environment where people want to be, and that does not happen by accident. And then just finally, from me personally, I really appreciate the support that you've given me. I mean, you very kindly said I've given you, but inviting me to do the breakfast is a brilliant opportunity for me to engage with the business community. The Winchester Business Awards, which I will be at next month, giving out one of the awards, the charity award, I think, as you very kindly asked me to do over the years. And what you might not know is that Paul and Chris before him and Catherine in between have these walkabouts with me every once a quarter when we march around town, and I basically fire 1,000 questions at Paul about what's going on in that building there, who's coming into that empty building there, why have they left, why are they coming, and he knows all of it, and it's brilliant. And for me, the fact is that the bid is always on. So if I've got a meeting coming up with the Chancellor, I know they'll ask me about Winchester and what's going on and how it feels. Osborne was brilliant at this. He was always cornering you in the voting lobby and asking you what's going on in your patch. How does it feel at the moment? And you have to try and have the answer to that, right? It's kind of quite a good career move in my line of work. And I know that I have the answer. I know that I have a robust answer from BID. So that's why I come to your events. That's why I come to your AGMs, because I know the information is quality. And that then ultimately feeds back up the line so that we can make better decisions in Westminster. So look, I wish you all the best. I mean, Winchester's a very, very special place, as we all know. It's been an absolute privilege to represent it, and it's been a privilege to work with you. And however long we have left, who knows? Rumours abound on social media tonight, but then we have that all the time. Second half of this year is the working assumption, so let's work on that, shall we? And I hope you have a fantastic rest of the evening, and look forward to hearing from Hampshire Fair, and thank you again for all that you've done, especially Paul.
Chris, are we ready to
We are ready.
give the result?
I have counted, I have checked, I've gone through my list, and I'm very pleased to say that Harriet from Drum Frosters has been put back on the board.
So, I'd like to call on Natasha now to come up from Hampshire Fair.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Again.
Thanks, Paul. Good evening, everyone. I'd just firstly like to say congratulations, Paul. I thought we were busy. But it's a pleasure to be here this evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm Natasha Dochniak, and I work with my colleague Louise Harrington over there, and we are Hampshire Fair. On your seats, you'll see a little produce guide that we produce every year. So just out of interest, who has heard of Hampshire Fair? Oh, that's very good to see. That's what I like. So Hampshire Fair are essentially a membership organisation, and we're the county's food, drink and craft group. And at the moment we have about 350 members across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. What we do is we help our members with things like route to markets and promotional opportunities. And I guess what I really want to talk to you tonight about is why it matters and why it's so important to support our members. And I guess really, back to Paul's point about the importance of shopping and supporting local, because I think that's what Hampshire Fair's mission is really all about. Hampshire Fair was actually started just over 30 years ago by a small group of farmers that were really looking at raising the awareness of their produce and getting it to market. And I think obviously over the last 30 years Hampshire Fair has grown, but really essentially that's what we do, and our mission still is to sort of discover, celebrate and support local business. So here you can see some of our members. Some of those are here in the sort of Winchester district, and as you can see they're all in good company. So our members range from producers, so those could be people making jam or cheese or beer, cider, right the way through to hospitality venues like the Northbrook Arms, hotels such as Lainston House, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers really. So you can see that we've got a wide range of members. So how do we help our members? I've mentioned those route to markets. We also hold networking events for our members, and they come together every month to sort of collaborate and look at ways in which they can work together. We also facilitate introductions to businesses. So if a member is looking to perhaps work with another member, we can facilitate those introductions and hopefully start some collaborations. We also provide marketing support and event opportunities. And also, I think a main part of what we really do is all about educating the public, again, about the importance of buying and supporting local. So we've got some exciting times ahead. I guess I didn't mention, but I joined Hampshire Fair 6 months ago. And with a small team, we've made some changes, I guess, in the last few months. And that has really started from the board down. So I'm excited to say that we've had 5 new board members recently join and 3 non-executives. So that's going to really help us propel forward at pace and continue with some exciting new changes that we're implementing. So we've got quite a clear strategy moving forward, a 1, 3, 5-year plan. And there's going to be much more of a consumer focus, and that's about getting people like yourselves out, making that emotional connection and learning the stories about our members, because I think that's what we've got on our doorstep is amazing produce and amazing producers. And when you hear about how their businesses have started, then you know, you will go and buy their cider or beer or cheese as opposed to going to the big supermarkets. Today I was at a local college where there were chefs, you know, cooking up a storm. And in terms of education, that's a really big focus for us in terms of recognising and understanding that that's the future. And we're working really hard at encouraging people to start a career, particularly in hospitality. And I guess really, you know, we are a member-centric organisation. We have to manage and look after those 350 members. So ensuring that our membership proposition is relevant both for today and the future is something that's really important to us, and a piece of work that I'm starting to do with the board. I'd just like to make a quick call out. There is one of our members, Hayley Elston, who you might have actually seen recently on Channel 4's Aldi's Next Big Thing. She has the fabulous crabulous crab cake that she makes, and she was actually one of the finalists and won the dinner category recently and had her crab cakes in Aldi for a week. So we work with our members obviously in terms of then helping them with promotional opportunities, but also often making them aware of opportunities such as that. And actually that was the second year we had a winner, Mud Foods won last year with their pies. You will have seen the guide on your chairs, so please do have a read and look through that. And we made a big thing of launching that with our corporate partners earlier in the year. So I'd like to think that we have got some exciting times ahead. In my last few months of being at Hampshire Fair, I think that there are 3 P's that I've developed, and those are people, passion and produce. And also now the 3 C's, community, collaboration and connection. And I think that really does summarise the whole Hampshire Fair community, because it's a really great place for people to come together, and when you see their passion, hear their stories, I think that's where their great work happens. So in terms of telling you how you can become involved in what we do, as I have said, it's about buying and supporting our local members. Also, the local produce guide this year was very much around discovery, exploration. I think we're very lucky in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight in terms of what we have on our doorstep. You know, next month it's watercress, this month it's been asparagus. We're known for our panage pork, our strawberries, our mushrooms, our tomatoes. The list goes on. But we do have a free monthly newsletter, so if you are interested in what we do, then please feel free to sign up to that. We always run amazing competitions. So at the moment we've got one to win lunch for 4 at Limewood. So pop onto the website, or indeed at the back we've got a form that you can fill out if you fancy your chances at winning lunch at Limewood. And of course, please do start following us on the socials if you don't already. So in terms of collaboration, and as Paul said, we've started working much more closely together with the BID and indeed the Cathedral and Winchester City Council, amongst others. So the Winchester Food Festival happened last year for the first time, and with securing additional funding, we've now been able to extend that to a week-long event in the lead up. So we've now got a Taste of Winchester happening, and we've just started to go out to members in the Winchester community, and really the idea of that is to support local businesses. And so if you're a business in the city and you want to get involved, then Miranda, who was here, is working with us closely on curating that event. And so if you're a restaurant or a shop or a coffee shop or a bar, then you could be putting together things like masterclasses or courses, talks, a special menu, a free glass of fizz on arrival, whatever it is, then we're going to pull all that together, and that will be happening around the city from the 8th to the 13th of July. And we're working with the Hampshire Chronicle, so there'll be a pull-out and a separate website with details of this. And then the week-long event will culminate in the actual food festival happening in the outer close of the Cathedral. And really, we'll have 30-odd producers, all with their lovely food. And the idea is to come along, buy some lovely picnic things and enjoy a picnic in the Cathedral grounds, and we'll have a chef's demo running all afternoon with some exciting chefs putting together some lovely food and some interesting talks. So watch this space. We're just literally launching that at the moment, so there'll be more information coming out about that over the coming weeks. As with every community interest company, we do generate revenue through membership, but we are supported by a number of valued corporate partners, as you can see there. And also, I guess, all we do is work with lovely local producers, food, drink and crafts. What's there not to love? So thank you very much this evening for your time. If you did have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. No? And just to say, if there were any businesses who were interested in joining Hampshire Fair, we will be offering a discount with being a part of the Winchester BID. So please do come and see Louise or myself throughout the evening. We'll be here for the rest of the night. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for your time and attention. I hope this has been useful to you. We've certainly enjoyed it, and thanks again to Natasha for your talk. That brings us to any other business. So, going around the room, I'm not going to do it one by one because we'll be here for another hour. If you have any other business, just shout out and we'll deal with it. Okay. In which case, a final thank you. I wish you all a safe trip home and a very pleasant evening, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.